Last time we have done modeling of some mechanical system. Let us see how we model electrical systems. Basically, there are two ways you can model electrical systems. One is called method of gradual uncover. This is applicable for simple circuits. And there is a second one which is called point potential approach. Which is for any general circuit. So I will initially consider simple circuit, something like, let's say, there is a voltage source, some kind of resistance, call it R1, something, let's call it L1 inductor, there is a capacitor C1, then maybe other side, we have some L2, some R2, then let's say we have parallel here, R3, some C2. So let us say this is our circuit. So what we will do is first we will break this circuit into simpler circuits. Like we will mark some part of the circuit as some large impedance. Let's say this part of the circuit is some impedance X. Then within that, we further mark two circuits. Let's say A, then you have another part. Let's say this is B.
Sir,
Yes,
are we working with AC current or DC current?
which one? This one.
Means we are working with AC.
Okay, some alternate source, even if it is DC, if you disturb somewhere something, then okay, current will start flowing. Okay, even if it is DC. Alright? Okay. DC doesn't mean
But
it is
sir,
constant. Okay. DC can also vary.
yes, sir. But
There is a
can
step
we
change.
put all
Yes,
can we put all of that into equivalent impedance X if it is DC?
you can put something. Okay, some equivalent impedance. Okay. Right now we are not going to calculate that impedance value, okay, in terms of AC or DC. Okay. What we are saying that it is some combined quantity. Some combined quantity. Okay. We call them A, B, C, like that. Let's call
Okay,
it
sir.
D. Within this D, let's say another part B. Basically, we are making some subsystems. So, our model becomes B, then R1, then rest of the thing that X. I am not writing J omega or things like that. Okay, it's just a subsystem, that's it. Some X is there, then this X can be broken into A and B and so on. So initially we will model this part. So what we do is we find that flow X to B R1 R1 and X are same. So this is one junction. Flows are same means one junction. So I select one junction. I have source of effort. One junction to which we have a resistance connected, that is R1, and we have this X connected. That's it. Now we will break this X further into A and B. So X is A and B. What is there in X? X comprises A and B. Potential difference is same. We will not say parallel and series. Each equal across A and B. So we extend the model AC 1 I is to R1. Then this X is same potential difference. That means zero junction. Potential difference is effort. And then we have A and B. Then we will break further A and B. Now I will break further A and B. What is A? A has inside A comprises B1 and L1 with same effort, same potential difference or with same effort. And B comprises this is C, then there is L2, R2 and C. L2, R2 and C with same flow. So this is one junction, that is a zero junction. We will write a C voltage 1 I is to R1 is 0. A is same potential. There is C and L1. C is 1 by C1. I is L1. Then we have B. B is a same flow. I is to L2. Then you have R is to R2. So this is very easy. Whenever we can find whether a part is in series or parallel as far as electrical circuit is concerned, or there is common flow or common effort, common flow through the elements or common effort across the elements. That is so much so easy. But at certain circuits, you cannot find what is series, what is in series, what is in parallel. One example is a bridge circuit. So let's say Wheatstone bridge or some other arbitrary bridge circuit, maybe a rectifier circuit with diodes and so on. So there it is difficult to understand what is series, what is parallel. So in those kind of complex systems, we will use method of point potential. For this simple system, it's not required that we use method of point potential, which is slightly complex. For simple system, just we analyze one by one and expand, we get this model. Cell at point B, B, B. And between them, some impedance is there. Some arbitrary thing is there. Then we model it like this. For potential point A, we write 0 VA or simply 0A or simply 0A. Here we write 0 VB, that is same effort. Then we put a one junction in between. So if you put a one junction, as you know, at one junction, flows are equal, sum of efforts is 0. So this is VA effort, here VB effort, and here is some effort. So you have VA minus VB minus something is equal to 0. This is something that turns out to be VA minus VB. So the effort here is VA minus VB. That is the potential difference across X. And of course here we put X. So that is the principle. The principle is at each end of an impedance, you put two zero junctions, take the potential difference at a one junction, and model the impedance there. Because the current is same. Current here, this part, here, and through the impedance have to be same. So currents are same. I. So all three will have same current and the potential difference will be computed at one junction. I will take a slightly complex circuit to show this. So let us say we have some arbitrary circuit, AC, DC doesn't matter, some kind of circuit. Let's put some resistance R1, and then let's say there is a bridge R2, there is some inductance L1, then in this there is some resistance and some capacitance, call it R3, V1. In this circuit, let us put a transformer. So let's say this is R high. And there is some ideal transformer. This number of turns primary. Number of turns in secondary side. And something here. Some arbitrary thing here. Potential points. In step 2, model impedances. In step 3, are ground, and in step 4, reduce model. So we have some reduction steps we can always apply. If you look at your previous model, there also some reduction was possible. You can see that these two zero junctions are adjacent zero junctions. So basically these two zero can be merged, and here C1 and L1 will directly appear at the zero junction. So that kind of reductions we will perform. So 4 steps: choose distinct potential points, then model all impedances as shown above by taking the potential difference and putting the impedance at one junction, then include a ground and reduce the model. These are the 4 steps. So first of all, let me identify the distinct potential points. I am taking a bigger pen. So here there is some potential, and the potential here is different because there is some potential drop across the impedance R1. So whenever you find an impedance, you put a distinct potential point. So let's call this point A, this point B. Where else? Here is one. Let's call it C. Here is one. Let's call it D. Here also another one is there. E. This E. So it's across AE. Include the impedance, the source. Now we also have another point here. We may include it. It's very simple to model CE part, so we may not include it. Whenever it is complex, we will include that potential point. So we have another here. Let's call it H. Other side, let's call GH. And J. So almost everywhere we have put. This one I could have put. I didn't put there between C2 and R4, but we could have. So these are our distinct potential points. Now I will exactly follow what is stated above. I will include zero junctions for each potential point and model the impedances between them. That's it. Okay. So we have a potential 0A. We have a potential 0B. We have somewhere 0C, somewhere 0D. Okay, let's do up to this, then we will see. So we have actually that 0 subscript should be voltage at A, but because we know I have put just 0A, that indicates voltage potential at point A. The actual nomenclature is 0 subscript VA. So between 0A and 0B, we have R1, then B and C L1, B and D R2. Between, we take BA minus BB, model there, R is to R1. Likewise, we take BB minus BD, model there something, Here BB minus BC, model there something. But here, this is R2, this is L1. R is R2, I is L1. That's it. That's the process. So likewise, I will put this 0E. So somewhere below, I put 0E. Between 0D and 0E, something is there. I will check. Between 0C and 0E, something is there. So what is that something? D and E, L2 is there. D and E are 4C2. E and E, we have inductance L2. And this side, we have R4 and C2, which are same current. So basically, I put one junction, R is to R4, C is to 1 by 2. Okay? So this whole thing, R4 and 1 by C2 at a one junction is the impedance. Likewise, between 0C and 0D, we have something. What is there between 0C and 0D? That is voltage VC minus VD. That is, we have R3 and C1 between potential difference C and D, and the potential difference across R3 is same as potential difference across C1. So that means R3 and C1 have common effort, so they must appear at zero junction. So we put a zero junction. R3 and C1. One by C1. I should have done it better. There is no space, so I have drawn like this, but I will revise it. Now, we have a source. Where is that source? Source is between 0E and 0A. Between them, source is there. Look at this. Between E and A, that voltage source B is there. This voltage source is such that the potential at A is VE plus the supplied voltage. Potential at E plus the supplied voltage is potential at A. So we have potential at E. We add here the supplied voltage, source of effort, that is voltage. It can be a function of time. Source of voltage. So voltage at E plus the supplied voltage becomes voltage at A. So that completes almost left part of the model. But there is another thing. Between D and E, we have another impedance. Between D and E. What impedance is there? R5 and that transformer. R5 is there and that transformer is there. So that will be modeled between D and E. Already we have one junction here between D and E. We can include another one junction or maybe same one junction we can model. between D and E, we have same flow passing through R is to R5 and the electrical transformer. Modulus of force is number of turns in primary side by number of turns in secondary side. Look at this carefully. It is R5 in series with the transformer. So same current through R5 and the transformer passes, and the potential difference is potential difference at D minus potential difference at potential at D minus E. You can include this point F, you may not include it. It's very simple, so you can draw it straightforward. Like we did it between C and E. If you include point F, then it's all the same thing. You will get same result. So now we have got potential difference. Now we will go and check the other side. What is there on the other side? The other end of transformer is an impedance between G and H. The other end of transformer is an impedance between G and H. This is an impedance between lower one is H, I think, upper one is 0 G. Okay, there is, to look here, you are taking 0B minus 0C. If required, you can take 0C minus 0B. It doesn't matter. It's like choosing a direction of correct. It doesn't matter. But you should not make 0B plus 0C. Always take a difference. So, you have 0H, 0G. Likewise, here some 0I is there, some 0J is there. Between them, some impedance. There, between these, some impedance is there. And between these, some other impedance is there. What are those impedances? Let's check. R6, L3, C3. So this is our first model. After steps 1 and 2, we have got this model. Okay? So we have step 1, choose distinct potential points. Step 2, model impedances. That's what we have done already. So this is how we get. But this is not the complete model. This kind of a circuit is called a floating circuit. This is a floating circuit. That means you do not have a ground in this. We are talking about potential differences. So having same potential difference, you can have different potential values. For example, potentials could be 100 and 70, difference is 30. It could be 70 and 40, difference is 30. So even having same potential difference, the model is not complete. We have to somewhere put ground. Ground is necessary when you model it using point potential method. This ground, you can choose arbitrarily. You can choose arbitrary ground. So let me choose, let E on this side. Usually we ground the negative terminal of the source. So I choose E here, and the other side, you have to choose another ground on the other side. If you have a transformer, both sides of transformer must be separately grounded. You cannot say that I have grounded primary side, so secondary side is grounded. No, it's not. Both sides have to be separately grounded. So we can choose anything. Let's choose point H. So let E and H be ground. That means we will put here ground. So if we put this ground in the model, we include some sources. So I will put ground now. Ground, electrical ground has potential 0. Ground has 0 potential. This ground is ground. They are ground. So once we ground this, then we see some things immediately. Number one is the effort. Here, 0. This being a 0 junction, effort is same. So this effort is 0. This effort is 0. So power in all these bonds is 0. Similarly, here effort 0, 0, equal to 0. So all these bonds also, power of grounded, power grounded 0 junction and all its bonds are so. Let me write so. So if a bond has 0 power, that means we can remove those. Because power is transmitted through the bonds. If power is not there, there is no energy interaction. So we can remove that. So we will remove it. So this part, remove. This part will be removed. Those will be removed. What else? We see that after removing these, some junctions, this junction, let's say, like these, these, this. What do we know? Junctions with 2 bonds only can be removed. We already know only bonds. Yes, yes, somebody wants to speak something. So junctions in only with only 2 bonds can be removed. We can remove those. Once we remove, let's say this 0J junction, what we will have is one junction connected to one junction. And we also know the rule for that. Adjacent junctions of same type can be merged. That also we know. So, what we have here on the right hand side is this 0 goes, this goes, this goes, then this 1, 1, 1, and this one all become adjacent. So merge all these, all 1, 2, single 1. So this will become a single 1 junction. On the other side, all these are gone. And then you see here, this 1 junction has only 2 bonds. So this can be removed. And this has already merged with this. So we will have only this remaining. Okay? This is already gone. So this 1 junction has how many bonds? Now 2 bonds. This one will be removed. This has only 2 bonds. This will be removed. Alright? So we will reorganize this picture into a very nice picture. So I will have to refer back to this picture time and again. This is R1. This is to Bt, R is to R1. So we have AC is to Bt. The 1 junction is removed, 0 junction is removed, and straight it goes to the 1 junction where that R is to R1 is there. Then you have 0B. So how that happened? First, this one went from 0E to 1 junction connection, that went because that junction became powerless. All efforts become 0. So that bond went. Then this 1 junction had only 2 bonds. So that 1 junction was removed. AC was brought here. Then that 0 junction had only 2 bonds, 0A. So that 0A was removed. So straight source of effort comes to 1 junction with R is to R1. Then we have 0B. Rest of the part remains as usual, no further reduction. 0B, 0C, 0D. So we have 0B. There is 1 junction. 1 junction. I have just changed the layout a little bit because it will look nice with this. I have 0C. I have 0D. What was there? I have to refer back. Between 0B and 0C, I is to L1, R is to R. So this is I is to L1, R is to R2. Now look about this one. This 1 junction between 0C and 0D, I bring it down. Between 0C and 0D, I bring it down and then model this P1 and R3 there. So next is 1 junction between 0C and 0D. I put it here. This is between 0C and 0D. What is present there is a 0 junction. With these two 1 by P1 and R is to something. What is there? R is to R3. Now, do not forget that there is something at 0C and 0D, something connected. Between 0C and 0D, we have done. But there was something between 0C and 0E. 0E is grounded and removed, but something is remaining there. The part between 0C and 0E is still remaining. The part between 0D and 0E is still remaining. Note that if potential at C is something and potential at E is 0, then the potential difference between C and E is same as total potential at C. The same thing appears at D. So 0C and 0D, which are actually full potentials, also represent the potential difference because ground potential is 0. So at 0C, we have a one junction, two one junctions have got merged. One junction with R4 and C2. And other side in 0D, in 0D, you have 0D, then 1, then I is to L2. The other bond is removed. So now this one junction has only two bonds. So we will connect directly 0D to I is to L2. So 0D will be directly connected to I is to L2. And 0D will be connected to another one junction R is to R5. So 0D has connection I is to L2, then a one junction R is to R5. Rest of the connections E is removed, then we have transformer. NP by NS. So that's what we have. This bond is removed already. This bond is removed. So you have one junction, R is to R5, straight going to transformer. Now all these one junctions are merged. Zero junctions have been removed because of two bonds. All one junctions have been merged. So you have one ICR, straight LCR circuit in series. That's what originally it was. So we have one ICR. L3 and R must be R6. See? So that's what our model looks like. So this part of the structure in between here, if you look at it, this is some kind of a structure, some kind of like structure. You can write it like this, or you can put it as a triangle also. 0, 1, 0, 1, 0, 1. All are same thing. Okay, either like that benzene ring structure or like this, you can put. So everywhere connected, everywhere something is connected. So if you look at the thing again, what we have is left side of the circuit is complex, which we cannot break into series and parallel. Right side of the circuit is very simple. So there was no need to use point potential method for the right side circuit. It's straightforward after transformer 1 ICR. So that part of the circuit which is simple can be solved with method of gradual uncover, whereas the complex part of the circuit, only the complex part of the circuit you require method of point potential. So this is one example. I will take a circuit with exactly same circuit with another example. I will take exactly same circuit so that we don't have to draw anything extra. Resistance was there. On this side, some resistance, inductance. Between there was capacitor. And here, inductance. What else? Inductance. No, not inductance. Resistance, capacitor, inductance here. Resistance, capacitor, inductance. There was resistance, capacitance, then inductance. This is what our circuit was. To this, a transformer was connected. Now, let me take this and put here armature resistance. Here is a motor. And this is on bearings. There is a disc here. This disc has some rope. There is a stiffness. Some mass hanging. This is rotary inertia of the disc. This is rotary inertia of the motor. That is rotor of the motor. This is some new motor. And the radius of the pulley is, let's say, R. R is radius of the pulley. And in addition, we have this has torsional stiffness. And damping. AT and ET. So this shaft itself will offer some kind of torsional stiffness and damping because it is very long. So if you calculate the modulus of rigidity times polar moment of area times divided by the length, it has some torsional stiffness. And it also has some torsional damping. So we just coupled the electrical part with the mechanical part. So now I will talk about this rotor part. So what do we have? This is disc, whose rotary inertia is JD. What is this part? This is rotor of motor. Motor has stator, which is not moving, and the rotor has some rotary inertia, that is Jm. The rotary inertia of the shaft is neglected. You have Kt stiffness, T stiffness. So if you want to model this, what we have here, we will assume that this disc at some speed, let's say angular velocity theta d dot, and this disc at some angular velocity theta m dot. So motor side is theta m dot, disc side is theta d dot. Then we have the torque. Transmitted by shaft. Let's call it T equal to Kt times theta T plus Ct times theta T dot, where theta T is theta m minus theta d, that is twist, angle of twist. So whatever is twist times torsional stiffness gives you one part of the torque, and the rate of change of twist times the damping gives you another part of the torque. So torque transmitted has two parts. We combine both of them. Both the forces are combined to give the total force. Exactly like a spring and damper in parallel. When the spring and damper are in parallel, the total force is force due to spring plus force due to damper. So that is what happens here. What else we have? We have the relative velocities between the motor and the disc. That relative velocity is same for the torsion of the shaft stiffness as well as the damping. So based on this, we will develop our model. Left part of the model is as it is. I will keep it as it is. So left part of the model will be retained. So I will not draw anything on the left hand side. I will keep it as it is. Whatever, 0, 1.
So, will it be possible for you to show two pages simultaneously? It will be easier for us to track things.
Then I have to draw in two different tabs. Okay. Anyway, I will share this. So I am also finding difficult in tracking. Okay. So I don't know how to do that. If I do in next page, then I cannot combine it into a single node. When I upload, I have to upload it as a single node. I can do one this tab, one in another tab. Not a problem. But then that cannot be combined to a single node.
Okay.
Okay, I will try to go back. Don't worry. This part I am not going to draw. This part I am not going to draw. Something, whatever was there. So this part of the model we know. So this part we know. We forget about that. This is point B. C, this is D. Now, what we have is that between B and D, this is point B. B, 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 E, which is ground. So between B and D, we have this armature resistance and the motor. Armature resistance and the motor are there between points B and D. So you understand that this might not be a AC thing. We will need a rectifier or something. So let's forget about that. Let us assume some kind of rectification is there. So between B and D, there is common flow between RA and this motor. So between B and D, already one junction is there. Then another one junction I will put. Then we have a resistance, armature resistance, and we have this generator. It is new motor. Now this produces some torque. This torque is applied on the rotor of the motor. So that is motion of the motor, rotor of the motor, where the inertia is rotary inertia of the motor. We also have the velocity or angular velocity of the disc, where we have inertia, that is rotary inertia of the disc, big disc. Now we have to take theta m dot minus theta d dot. Look at this. What we are doing? This is theta m dot. This is theta d dot. Both are flows. And we are taking their difference. This delta theta dot. That is theta m dot minus theta d dot. So whenever we are taking difference between two speeds, we are using zero junction. Whenever we are taking difference between two efforts, this was BB, BC, B minus BC. So whenever we are taking difference between two efforts, we are using one junction. Whenever we are taking difference between two flows, we are using zero junction. This is fundamental difference. One junction is to do some kind of algebra of forces. Zero junction is same effort. It does some kind of algebra between flows. Incidentally, here only three variables are there. There could be more. So we have this. Then we know that twist will have a stiffness, Kt. There is a damping, Dt. This gives a part of the force. How much this gives? Ct theta t dot. And how much this gives? This gives Kt theta t. And because it is one junction, what do we know? That this also does algebra of forces. That means, what is effort here? Effort here is basically Kt theta t plus Ct theta t dot. This is delta theta dot or delta theta t dot. So the shaft is modeled like this. You have to be very careful. First, you take relative velocities between two ends of the shaft. Find the twist, rate of change of twist or rate of change of angular deformation. Then put a one junction. Put torsional stiffness and torsional damping in that. So that the net resultant torque is summation of the torque produced due to the shear stress part and the torque produced due to strain rate part. Okay? So there are stress induced torques, there are strain rate induced torque. Okay? So both will be together, added together. Now we have theta d dot. What else we have now? The disk rotational speed is now multiplied with radius of the disk r. So this becomes r d dot or r omega. Go above. Easy. So radius times theta d, that is velocity of this point on the rope. Okay, not this way, it's upward. I have taken upward positive. So this is r theta d dot. Now we will take this velocity, some y dot, arbitrary y dot. Then what is the deformation of the spring? Deformation of the spring is r theta d dot minus y dot. R theta d dot minus y dot is the deformation of the spring. So that's what we will model. R theta d dot, and then I take one y dot. Take the difference. Whenever we take difference of velocities, it is zero junction. Here we model these two. What was it? K. That is rope. Let's say rope stiffness. And then at y dot, we have the mass M, and we also have gravity. Three. So we have a big electromechanical system which has some kind of bridge circuit, and maybe a rectifier circuit. We have motor, electromechanical coupling. Let me then do some simple mechanical system modeling. Exactly opposite to the point potential method. Step 1, unless it is simple, you follow this step. R one junction for each distinct velocity. So we will introduce one junction for each distinct velocity point. Alright?
Hello, sir.
Yes?
There is a doubt in previous example.
Yes?
You gave theta dot as input to the spring mass system,
Yes.
but shouldn't it?
Sigma system.
Yes, sir. But shouldn't it be two? Sir, the spring mass system should also give a torque to the motor system. Means it is two-way coupling.
It is giving. It is giving. See, here. This is the force in the rope. Let this be force in the rope. Okay? These three forces are same. Force in the rope is pulling the mass. Force in the rope is connected to the stiffness of the rope. This is the force in the rope. Alright? So if this is theta d dot flow, it is multiplied by r, you get r theta d dot. What happens here to the effort? The flow scales according to the orientation of the transformer. The effort scales opposite to that direction. So here the effort is Rf. That is the torque. Okay. And that torque is applied onto theta d junction. So both things happen simultaneously. You have velocity transformation from angular to linear domain. You have force transformation from linear to angular domain. Both things happen simultaneously. You don't have to worry. You do one thing correctly, the other thing will be automatically done. Okay? Is that clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But these arrows are confusing. Like it says that theta is given as input to the torque, and but theta is also affecting the torque in reverse direction. So arrows are a
Yes,
bit
yes, it will affect. Theta will affect. When you give theta, depending on theta, that spring force will be generated. We are talking about a dynamic problem. Okay? It doesn't directly come. See, this theta d comes. What does the spring give this force? Force is not dependent on theta d. Force is not theta d dot. Force is kt times integral of this r theta d dot. R theta d dot comes here minus y dot. Dt. So, okay, even if let's say there is large theta d and time is let's say tending to 0, you don't get a force. Okay, so it's a dynamics problem. You have to integrate the thing. Without integrating, you cannot tell that it directly influences. If you have a resistance, that instantaneously affects. If you have a resistance, there is instantaneous effect of velocity with the force. Whereas if you have a spring, the effect is not instantaneous. Effect comes because of storage of energy. Alright? Right.
Yes, sir. Now it is clear.
Okay. So we will add one function for each distinct velocity point. Then include inertia, is present. Wherever there is a velocity point, there may be an inertia, may not be an inertia. So if you have inertia, put it there. Forces, if you have put it there, then in step 2, model all other impedances by taking relative velocity. So if you have a spring, let's say K, that is, let's say x1 dot, that is x2 dot, then we take x1 dot minus x2 dot at a zero junction, one x1 dot distinct velocity point, this is one x2 dot, another distinct velocity point. Between them we take this and model the spring. That's it. Exactly the way we did it for electrical circuit. In electrical circuit, we took zero junction for potentials, took the difference to find potential differences, model the impedance. Here we take velocity parts, take the difference to get the relative velocity and model the impedance there. Then in step 3, are ground and other boundary conditions. If you have whatever boundary conditions you have, you put it there. They both reduce. That's it. Okay, very simple steps, exactly the same thing as electrical domain. So I will take a very simple example, and other slightly complex ones we will do in the next class. So let's say we have a mass M, there is a string K, there is a damper R1, let this call this K1. Then we have another one, this is K2. There is, let's say, velocity Vt. Then let's say there is a lever. This side of lever is A, side is G. Then from here, let's say there is a string hanging, K3. We have a mass hanging. Let's say M1. Let's say M2. Gravity acts downwards. Inside this, let's say we have a person standing, and the person is simply, let's say, modeled by a spring. So let's just be A4 M3. Let's. So why this happens? Don't ask me. Some arbitrary configuration. So if we have something like this, we will add first distinct velocity points. So where are distinct velocity points in this? Add velocity points. So one velocity point I will add one velocity point we can add here. Let this be x1 dot x or y, whatever. Then we add another one here. Let this be h2 dot. As we understand, here is another velocity point. x3 dot. Then here x4 dot. Note that x1 dot and x4 dot are not independent, but they are distinct. That means x1 dot is not equal to x4 dot. That is what I mean by distinct. But we know they are not independent. If we are doing a Lagrangian formulation, we have to choose independent coordinates. Then x1 and x4 simultaneously cannot be coordinates. But we are not talking about independent coordinates or independent motions. We are talking about distinct. Distinct means the values are different. That's it. So x4 dot is distinct. Then this lift has, let's say, velocity 5 dot, and this head has velocity, let's say, dot. So these are the distinct velocities we have marked. All right? So now I will put one junctions for each one of them. I will put one x1 dot. Then I will put one x3 dot. Slightly below, I will put it. Here I put, let me put one x4 dot. So here, this one 4 dot. Then we have here somewhere 1x5 dot. Here 1x3 dot. Further below 1x4 dot, and x6 dot will come also. 1x6 dot. So these are the different velocity points we mark. Wherever we know there is inertia, we will put inertia. So where are there? X6 is at head of that person. There. Empty. There is also self weight. There. X5 has a mass. Yes. So put there. X1 has mass. And gravity. So all those external forces are put at one junction. All inertias are connected to one junction. Now what we have? We have x3 dot minus x2 dot. Between x3 dot and x2 dot, string K2 is connected. So we will take either x3 dot minus x2 dot or x2 dot minus x3 dot, it doesn't matter. If you take x3 dot minus x2 dot as our coordinate, that means if the value is positive, then string is under tension. So tension is positive. If you take x2 dot minus x3 dot and value turns out to be positive, that means compression on the string is positive. So it's all the same thing, only the way you interpret the results. Otherwise, it's all the same thing. So I will take x2 dot minus x3 dot. I will take, where is x2? Oh, this has become twice. This is not x4, this is x2. So x2 dot minus x3 dot. Base is insufficient. X2 dot. So x2 dot minus x3 dot. What is there? There is a string, is K2. So that's what we put. X2 dot minus x3 dot, there is string K2. Then we will take x3 dot minus x1 dot. x3 dot minus x1 dot. What are there between x3 dot and x1 dot? String K1, resistance R1. Both are there. So I will take x3 dot minus x1 dot twice. One time I take x3 dot minus x1 dot. Another time also I take x3 dot minus x1 dot. Both are x3 dot minus x1 dot. The result is x3 dot minus x1 dot. Here we have resistance R1 or damper. This side we have thickness A1. Both are x3 dot minus x1 dot. So that is done. Likewise, we have between x4 and x5. We can say x4 dot minus x5 dot. X4 dot minus x5 dot. There is a spring. I think it is K3 maybe. I have to check. So there is a spring from which that lip is hanging. K3. So K3 exists between x4 dot and x5 dot. I have taken x4 dot minus x5. And K4 exists between x5 dot and x6 dot. X6 dot. You can take x5 dot minus x6 dot or opposite. Doesn't matter. So I have taken, let's take x5 dot minus x6 dot. Here we are. K4. Okay. Now what else is remaining between x1 dot and x4 dot? If you look at that lever, what do we have? Lever, if it turns by theta dot, let's say, then you have theta dot, x1 dot by A, and x4 dot is minus b times theta dot. If theta dot is positive this way, theta dot is positive downwards, then x1 dot is positive, means theta dot will be downwards, then you will have minus d theta dot. That is minus d by A x1 dot. So this transforms not only the velocity, this also transforms the forces, opposite direction. So we will put a transformer minus d by A from x1 dot to x4 dot. From x1 dot, transformer value is minus by A. That's done. Then finally we have a boundary condition, that is the ground velocity given there is Vt. So this is here. This is source of flow, is velocity excitation. So that completes our model. That is our model. Now we have to reduce it. We have to reduce this model. What are the reductions possible? Let's see. What are different reductions possible? If you look at this, first reduction is being disappear. This thing goes, this is only two bonds, so this disappears. What else we have? If you look at this has only two bonds, it's also disappears. Only two bonds. Now this structure, what is this equivalent to? We know this is equivalent to 1 single zero, we have taken upward direction. Single zero, One X1 dot, so it's X4 dot, X3 dot, result is X3 dot minus X1 dot, and that is same velocity in the spring and damper. That is A1 and R is to R1. So refer to your yesterday's note, we know this reduction. So basically, there will be one X3 dot and one X1 dot. Now, if you look at this one X3 dot will have only two bonds. This will go because it has only two bonds. Then what we will have after removing this, we will have the next step. One X3 dot goes, we have 0, we have dt. This one is removed, we have 0, A2. Then this X3 dot is removed, one X3 dot goes, go, then you will have 0, and then this one here. So if you look at this, if X3 dot goes, then these two zeros, they become adjacent. Zeros or junctions of same type. Junctions of same type. So they can be merged. So what we have now, get forward we will get this one X2 goes, this 0 will go, this 0 will get merged with 0 of the so here, this 0 here, that 0 get merged, 0, this 0 will get more and merged with that 0, one X1 dot will stay as it is, and one X4 dot is also removed. We'll get a reduced model. Some zero junction where there F junction one one are, one are there, then it goes to one H1 dot where we have both I one and H minus F1. Of them are there. Okay, transformer minus B by A. One export dot is removed because it has only two bonds. Then you have C, that's K3. Then it goes to one I dot where you have inertia and AC of course. Again another C for the next mass, K3 and another inertia of one junction. Another one junction I. what the reduced model will turn out to be. And in fact, you don't have to go through all these steps. You can understand how the forces are getting transferred. So you can directly get this model without going through these steps. Let's say this is the normal reaction on the ground. Force on this is normal reaction on the ground. Force from the ground excitation PT, some normal reaction comes N, 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 because this is zero junction. What you see there from our system, that look at the system from free body diagram, you see whatever is ground reaction will be same force acting at x3 dot, same force will be acting at x3 dot, same force will be acting at PT, that is ground reaction, same force passes through string K2, same force divided into K1 and R1 separated, but total force in K1 and R1 combined also equal to that same force. And that resultant force then acts on mass M1. So we have four things that are equal. Four things which are equal according to the free body. What are they? Four things must be connected to a zero junction. There is a zero junction, your source of flow. There is a zero junction where K2 is there, K2. There is a zero junction, some stop. All these four must be at a zero junction. That's what we get through all these process, all these reactions, we get that same body. So if you understand this, then it's very easy. Similarly, on the other side, you find that whatever force is applied at tip of the lever, that same force is applied on the mass M, excluding the inertial force. So, because this spring is a two-force member, so this force will pass through the spring. Same force at the left end of the spring, same force at the bottom end of the spring, same force to the spring. So that is erosion. So we can use that model straightforward. We will not go through all those steps. We can get this model directly. Okay. So that's all for today. You can now ask whatever questions you have, and I will of course upload this to the notes. Okay. I will convert the PDF and upload it to the notes. So you can ask whatever questions you have.